The crack of my bones was the first sound my 5 precious daughters heard. It was a sound that would forever be etched in their memories, a sound that would silence their own cries for years to come. I had just given birth to 5 beautiful, healthy girls, a miracle of life that should have been a cause for celebration. But for him, it was a curse. He had wanted a son, an heir to his name, a legacy to carry on his family's business. And in his eyes, I had failed him. He stood over me, his face contorted in a mask of pure, unadulterated rage, his fists clenched at his sides, trembling with a barely contained fury. The doctor's words of congratulations were drowned out by his guttural roar, a primal sound of disappointment and anger that filled the sterile delivery room. He didn't see the 5 tiny miracles lying in their bassinets, their chests rising and falling in perfect rhythm, their innocent faces a testament to the wonder of creation. He only saw his own shattered dreams, his own selfish desires, his own perceived failure reflected in the delicate forms of his newborn daughters. And in that moment, he unleashed his rage on me, his fists a blur of motion, a brutal, relentless assault that broke my bones, one after another, each sickening crack echoing the shattering of my spirit. My cries of agony, raw and primal, were a symphony of his own making, a macabre celebration of his twisted sense of justice. The nurses screamed, a flurry of shocked faces and desperate movements, but they were too late. The damage was done. My body, a vessel that had just brought 5 lives into the world, was now a broken mess, a testament to his monstrous cruelty. And in that profound, agonizing moment, I knew that my journey had just begun, a journey I would embark on alone, with 5 innocent lives depending solely on my shattered strength, their cries silenced by the echo of my own pain. Subscribe to our channel for more heart-wrenching stories that will make you believe in the power of justice. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video. And our love story, if one could even call it that, began not with passion, but with a calculated arrangement. He was the scion of a powerful, old money family, his lineage stretching back generations, each male heir meticulously groomed to uphold the family name and expand their vast industrial empire. I was a young woman from a respectable but modest background, chosen for my beauty, my quiet demeanor, and my perceived ability to produce the next generation of heirs. Our wedding was a lavish affair, a spectacle of wealth and influence, but beneath the glittering surface, it felt more like a business merger than a union of hearts. He was charming, in a detached, almost clinical way, and he spoke of our future with a cold, precise logic. Children were a necessity, a duty, a continuation of the family line, and it was understood, though never explicitly stated, that a son was paramount. The pressure was immense, a silent, pervasive force that permeated every aspect of our lives. His mother, a formidable matriarch, would often make veiled comments about the importance of male progeny, her eyes lingering on my womb with an almost predatory intensity. I tried to find a spark of genuine affection in his eyes, a flicker of warmth in his touch, but he was a man of logic and reason, his emotions a carefully guarded secret. Our grand mansion, filled with priceless antiques and silent servants, felt more like a gilded cage than a home. I was a prized possession, a beautiful ornament, but never truly a partner. When we discovered I was pregnant, his reaction was not joy, but a cold, analytical assessment of the implications. He meticulously charted my diet, my activities, even my emotional state, as if my body was a machine that needed to be optimized for the production of a male heir. The joy of impending motherhood was overshadowed by the crushing weight of his expectations, the unspoken demand for a son. I longed for a child, any child, to fill the emptiness in our vast, opulent home, to bring a genuine warmth to the cold, sterile environment. But for him, it was not about a child. It was about a legacy, a continuation of his name, a symbol of his power. And I, his wife, was merely the vessel, a means to an end. And the pregnancy progressed, the whispers of expectation grew louder, transforming into a relentless, suffocating pressure. Every doctor's visit, every ultrasound, was met with his intense scrutiny, his questions always centered on the gender. When the first ultrasound revealed a girl, his face had tightened, a flicker of disappointment crossing his features before he quickly masked it. "A daughter," he had said, his voice flat, devoid of any genuine warmth. "Well, we shall try again." The subsequent ultrasounds, each revealing another girl, were met with increasing frustration, then a simmering resentment that he barely bothered to conceal. He became distant, his conversations with me limited to curt instructions and financial arrangements for the impending births. He hired a team of nannies, a staff of nurses, a fleet of drivers, all to manage the arrival of his assets. He was preparing for their arrival, but not as a father. He was preparing as a CEO, managing a new and, in his eyes, unprofitable division of his empire. The grand mansion, once a symbol of our supposed love, became a monument to his escalating disappointment. He spent more and more time in his private study, surrounded by ledgers and legal documents, the light burning late into the night. Our once intimate dinners became strained, punctuated by his distracted silences and my desperate attempts to rekindle the spark that seemed to be dimming. He stopped touching my belly, stopped listening to their tiny heartbeats. The nursery, once a vibrant space filled with our shared hopes, began to feel cold and empty, despite the 5 meticulously arranged bassinets. The whispers of doubt, once easily dismissed, grew louder, a discordant note in the symphony of my burgeoning motherhood. I told myself it was stress, the immense pressure of providing for such a large family. I clung to the image of the man who had held me, tears in his eyes, promising our football team. But the man who stood before me now was a stranger, his heart a fortress I could no longer penetrate. The grand design was fracturing, and I, alone, was left to pick up the pieces, carrying not just 5 lives, but the crushing weight of a love that was slowly, irrevocably dying. An NTHE night of the delivery was a maelstrom of pain and terror, a night that should have been filled with the joyous cries of new life, but instead became a brutal unveiling of the monster I had married. The labor was long and arduous, each contraction a wave of fire that threatened to consume me. The medical team, a blur of masked faces and hushed voices, worked with practiced efficiency, their focus unwavering. But through the haze of agony, I was acutely aware of his presence, a dark, brooding storm cloud in the corner of the room. He had arrived, not with words of encouragement or a comforting touch, but with a palpable aura of anger that seemed to chill the very air. He paced restlessly, his jaw clenched, his eyes darting between me and the clock, as if my suffering was an inconvenience, a delay in his meticulously planned schedule. The first baby arrived, a tiny girl with a lusty cry, and I looked up, expecting to see a flicker of paternal pride, a softening of his rigid features. But his face remained a mask of cold fury, his eyes fixed on the door, as if contemplating an escape. The second, third, and fourth followed in quick succession, each a perfect, healthy addition to our family, each a girl. With each birth, his anger seemed to intensify, his pacing becoming more agitated, his breathing heavier. The nurses exchanged uneasy glances, their concern for me now tinged with a palpable fear of him. And then the 5th, another girl, a beautiful, delicate creature, her tiny fingers curling around mine, her innocent gaze meeting mine with a trust that broke my heart. The doctor, a kind woman with a gentle voice, announced her arrival, her voice filled with a quiet joy. But her words were drowned out by his guttural roar, a primal sound of disappointment and anger that filled the sterile delivery room. He didn't see the 5 tiny miracles lying in their bassinets, their chests rising and falling in perfect rhythm, their innocent faces a testament to the wonder of creation. He only saw his own shattered dreams, his own selfish desires, his own perceived failure reflected in the delicate forms of his newborn daughters. And in that moment, he unleashed his rage on me, his fists a blur of motion, a brutal, relentless assault that broke my bones, one after another, each sickening crack echoing the shattering of my spirit. My cries of agony, raw and primal, were a symphony of his own making, a macabre celebration of his twisted sense of justice. The nurses screamed, a flurry of shocked faces and desperate movements, but they were too late. They pulled him off me, his body thrashing and kicking, his voice a torrent of curses and threats, his eyes blazing with a terrifying, unhinged fury. He was eventually subdued, dragged from the room, his enraged shouts echoing down the hallway. I lay on the bed, my body a broken mess, my spirit shattered into a million pieces. The physical pain was immense, a searing agony that consumed every nerve ending, but the emotional pain was far more profound, a gaping wound left by his monstrous cruelty. How could a man, a husband, a father, inflict such violence on the woman who had just given birth to his children? His rage, his utter disregard for my life and the lives of our daughters, was a crushing blow, far more devastating than any physical injury. It was the unveiling of a monster, a man so devoid of empathy that he could find joy in my suffering, a man capable of a cruelty I had never imagined. And in that profound, agonizing moment, I knew that my journey had just begun, a journey I would embark on alone, with 5 innocent lives depending solely on my shattered strength, their cries silenced by the echo of my own pain. Section 3. The shattered silence and the fierce resolve in THE delivery room, once filled with the joyous cries of new life, was now steeped in a shattered silence, broken only by my ragged breaths and the soft whimpers of my newborns. My body was a landscape of pain, each movement a fresh agony, but my mind was clearer than it had ever been. The illusion of our life, of his love, had been brutally stripped away, leaving behind a stark, horrifying truth. He was not the man I thought he was. He was a monster, consumed by his own selfish desires, incapable of love, incapable of compassion. The nurses, their faces etched with pity and concern, moved around me, their gentle hands tending to my broken body. They spoke in hushed tones, their words a soothing balm against the raw wound of my soul. They brought my daughters to me, one by one, their tiny bodies warm and fragile against my bruised skin. I held them close, their innocence a stark contrast to the brutality I had just endured. Their soft breathing, their tiny fingers curling around mine, were the only anchors in a world that had suddenly tilted on its axis. And in that profound, agonizing moment, a fierce, unyielding resolve ignited within me, and I would not let his cruelty define our lives. I would not let his brokenness shatter their futures. I would be their protector, their provider, their everything. I would raise them to be strong, independent women, women who would never be defined by a man's expectations, women who would never suffer the same fate as their mother. I would build a life for them, a life filled with love, warmth, and the unwavering knowledge that they were cherished and wanted. The decision was made not with anger, but with a quiet, steely determination. I would leave him. I would take my daughters and disappear, severing all ties with the gilded cage that had become my prison. It would be a long and arduous journey, I knew, filled with challenges and hardships. But the thought of my 5 precious girls, their innocent faces trusting and vulnerable, gave me the courage I needed. I would fight for them. I would fight for our future. I would fight for a life free from the shadow of his rage. The shattered silence of the delivery room became the fertile ground for a new beginning, a beginning forged in pain, but fueled by an unbreakable maternal love. My cries, once silenced by his brutality, would now become the silent strength that would carry us forward, a testament to the resilience of a mother's heart. I would not just survive, I would thrive, and I would ensure that my daughters would too. The broken bones would heal, but the spirit, once shattered, would be reforged, stronger and more resilient than ever before. And in that profound, agonizing moment, I knew that my journey had just begun, a journey I would embark on alone, with 5 innocent lives depending solely on my shattered strength, their cries silenced by the echo of my own pain. Section 4. The escape and the unseen scars. Leaving him was not easy. My body was still healing, a patchwork of bruises and bandages, and my spirit was raw, exposed. But the thought of my daughters, their innocent faces trusting and vulnerable, propelled me forward. I planned my escape meticulously, in the quiet hours of the night, while he was away on one of his frequent business trips. I gathered what little I could, essentials for my babies, a few changes of clothes for myself. I left behind the grand mansion, the priceless antiques, the life of luxury that had become my gilded prison. It was a terrifying leap into the unknown, but the fierce love I felt for my 5 precious girls overshadowed any fear. I found refuge in a small, unassuming town, far from the prying eyes of his family and the long reach of his influence. I changed my name, my appearance, anything to erase the past and build a new future. I took on odd jobs, cleaning houses, waiting tables, anything to put food on the table and keep a roof over our heads. It was a constant struggle, a relentless battle against poverty and prejudice. But with each small victory, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. My daughters were my motivation, their laughter, my greatest reward. They grew, each one a unique and vibrant personality, their bond unbreakable, their spirits unyielding. They were bright, compassionate, and fiercely resilient, their spirits unyielding. They were a testament to the power of resilience, to the strength of a family forged in adversity, a family that had found warmth not in a blanket, but in the embrace of a loving community. NNBUT, the scars remained, unseen but deeply etched into my soul. The memory of his rage, the sound of my bones breaking, the chilling echo of his laughter, these were wounds that time could not fully heal. I would often wake in the dead of night, bathed in a cold sweat, the phantom pain of his blows a vivid reality. I saw the fear in my daughters' eyes sometimes, a fleeting shadow that reminded me of the trauma they had witnessed, even as newborns. I sought therapy, a safe space to process the trauma, to heal the unseen wounds. It was a long and painful process, but with each session, I felt a little lighter, a little more whole. I learned to live with the scars, to see them not as symbols of my pain, but as testaments to my survival, to my strength. My daughters, too, carried their own unseen scars, the memory of their traumatic entry into the world. I encouraged them to speak about their feelings, to express their fears, to never let their voices be silenced. We healed together, a family bound not by blood alone, but by shared trauma and an unwavering commitment to love and support. The escape was not just physical, it was an escape from the psychological prison he had built, a journey towards emotional freedom and a life defined by our own terms, not his. And in that profound, agonizing moment, I knew that my journey had just begun, a journey I would embark on alone, with 5 innocent lives depending solely on my shattered strength, their cries silenced by the echo of my own pain. Section 5. The blossoming of resilience and the symphony of voiced years turned into decades, and my 5 daughters blossomed into remarkable young women, each a testament to their resilience and the unwavering love that had nurtured them. They were bright, compassionate, and fiercely independent, their spirits unyielding. They pursued diverse paths, some becoming doctors, others artists, teachers, or advocates for social justice, each making their own unique mark on the world. Their laughter filled our small home, now a vibrant hub of activity, with grandchildren running through the halls, a testament to the enduring power of family. They knew their story, of a father who had inflicted such cruelty, of a mother who had fought tirelessly to give them a life filled with love and opportunity. But instead of bitterness, it instilled in them a deep empathy, a profound understanding of the human condition, and an unwavering commitment to justice and kindness. They learned to find joy in the simple things, to cherish genuine connections, and to value the strength of family above all else. They were a symphony of voices, each one strong and clear, a stark contrast to the silenced cries of their infancy. They spoke out against injustice, advocated for the vulnerable, and used their experiences to inspire others. They became a beacon of hope, a testament to the power of the human spirit to overcome even the most profound trauma. My daughters, once silenced by my pain, now used their voices to create a better world, a world where no child would be born into such cruelty, where no mother would suffer in silence. Their resilience was a constant source of pride for me, a living testament to the strength that had blossomed from the ashes of my shattered dreams. The scars remained, but they were now badges of honor, symbols of survival, reminders of the battles we had fought and won. And in their vibrant lives, I found my own healing, my own redemption. The symphony of their voices, once silenced by my cries, now filled my world with a melody of hope and triumph. I watched them, my heart overflowing with pride, knowing that I had given them more than just life. I had given them a foundation of unwavering love and an unbreakable spirit. They were my legacy, not in the way he had envisioned, but in a far more profound and meaningful sense. They were a living testament to the power of a mother's love, a love that had triumphed over brutality, over neglect, over the very real threat of being silenced forever. They built their own legacies, not of corporate empires, but of compassion, connection, and the enduring strength of the human spirit. The grand design he had abandoned had been rebuilt, brick by brick, with love as its foundation and resilience as its mortar. And in that rebuilding, a profound justice was found, not in retribution, but in the quiet triumph of a life well lived, a family deeply loved. Section 6. The Echoes of the Past and the Unseen Justice. Occasionally, whispers of his life would reach me, carried on the wind like forgotten echoes. He had remarried, but his second marriage had ended in divorce, leaving him with no children, no true family. His corporate empire, once so grand, had begun to crumble, his ruthless tactics and cold calculations alienating even his most loyal associates. He was a man consumed by his own emptiness, his life a hollow echo of what could have been. He had achieved material success, but at the cost of his soul, his relationships, his very humanity. He had chosen power over love, control over connection, and in doing so, he had lost everything that truly mattered. He was a ghost, haunting the periphery of a life he had once been a part of, a life that had moved on without him, thriving and flourishing in his absence. The echoes of the past, once painful reminders of his betrayal, now served as a stark contrast to the vibrant, joyful reality of our present. My children, once rejected, were now surrounded by love, their lives a testament to the power of a mother's unwavering devotion. They had built their own legacies, not of corporate empires, but of compassion, connection, and the enduring strength of the human spirit. The grand design he had abandoned had been rebuilt, brick by brick, with love as its foundation and resilience as its mortar. And in that rebuilding, a profound justice was found, not in retribution, but in the quiet triumph of a life well lived, a family deeply loved, and never sought revenge. I never wished him ill. My focus was always on my daughters, on building a life for them that was filled with love and joy, a life free from the shadow of his cruelty. But justice, I learned, has a way of finding its own path, often in the most unexpected ways. His life, devoid of genuine connection, became a living testament to the emptiness of a soul consumed by anger and selfishness. His empire, built on a foundation of cold ambition, eventually crumbled, leaving him with nothing but the bitter taste of his own failures. He had wanted a legacy, an heir to carry on his name, but his name would now be synonymous with cruelty, with a profound lack of humanity. My daughters, on the other hand, carried a different legacy, a legacy of strength, of compassion, of unwavering love. They were the living embodiment of justice, their vibrant lives a stark contrast to his desolate existence. Their success, their happiness, their ability to love and connect deeply were the ultimate retribution, a silent, powerful testament to the triumph of good over evil. The unseen justice was not in his downfall, but in our rise, in the beautiful, thriving lives we had built from the ashes of his destruction. And in that profound realization, I found a peace that transcended all pain, a peace that affirmed the enduring power of love and the unwavering truth that justice, in its purest form, always finds its way. And then Section 7, the unbroken spirit and the enduring legacy. I saw him again, many years later, at a charity event where one of my daughters was being honored for her work in advocating for victims of domestic violence. He was a shadow of the man he once was. His once imposing figure stooped, his eyes hollow and haunted. He sat alone in the back, a solitary figure in a crowd of joyous celebration. He looked at my daughter on the stage, her voice strong and clear as she spoke of resilience and healing, and then his gaze drifted to me, sitting in the front row, surrounded by my other children and grandchildren, a vibrant tapestry of love and connection. In his eyes, I saw a flicker of recognition, a pang of regret, so deep it almost brought me to tears. He saw the family he had so carelessly discarded, the legacy he had so foolishly rejected. He saw the love, the joy, the connection he had so foolishly traded for a life of solitary ambition. He saw the vibrant lives he had chosen to abandon, and in their success, he saw his own profound failure. He tried to speak, his lips moving silently, but no words came out, only a choked sob that was quickly stifled. He turned and walked away, his shoulders slumped, his steps heavy, disappearing into the anonymity of the crowd. He didn't need to say anything. The justice was evident in the vibrant lives of my children, in the strength of our family, in the unwavering love that had blossomed from the ashes of his abandonment. My miracle had not lost its father. It had simply found a better path, a path illuminated by the unwavering light of a mother's love. Justice, I realized then, was not always about retribution, about seeing him suffer. Sometimes it was about the quiet triumph of resilience, the enduring power of love, the profound joy of a life well lived despite the pain inflicted by others. He had broken my bones in anger, but he had failed to break my spirit. My cries, once silenced by his brutality, had become the silent strength that carried us forward, a testament to the resilience of a mother's heart. My daughters, once born into a world of pain, had blossomed into women of unwavering strength and compassion, their lives a vibrant testament to the true legacy of a mother's unwavering love. And in that moment, as I looked at my beautiful, thriving family, I knew that the true legacy was not in the physical scars he had left, but in the unbroken spirit that had emerged from the crucible of pain. It was in the laughter of my grandchildren, the unwavering support of my children, the quiet strength that had carried me through the darkest of times. It was a legacy of love, resilience, and the profound truth that even in the face of the deepest betrayal, the human spirit can not only survive, but flourish, creating a tapestry of life more beautiful and meaningful than any grand design. My miracle, once met with rejection, had become my salvation and the enduring testament to the power of a mother's unwavering love.